And here is, let's see, page 64. Here's our chanting page. So I'm going to pick up my trusty wooden fish and my happy bell here and lead everybody in chanting the name of the Avatamsaka Sutra and the Flower Garland Assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Here we go. Namo Tafang Guang Ho Huayen Zi Huayen Hai Hui Ho Pu Sa Namo Tafang Guang Ho Huayen Zi Huayen Hai Hui Ho Pu Sa Namo Tafang Guang Ho Huayen Zi Huayen Hai Hui Ho Pu Sa Namo Tafang Guang Ho Huayen Zi Huayen Hai Hui Ho Pu Sa Namo Tafang Guang Ho Huayen Zi Huayen Hai Hui Ho Pu Sa Namo Tafang Guang Ho Huayen Zi Huayen Hai Hui Ho Pu Sa Namo Tafang Guang Ho Huayen Zi Huayen Hai Hui Ho Pu Sa. 实在好热啊 But there's always someplace hotter, there's always someplace colder. So who's complaining? Not us. It's a privilege to be here with everybody on a Saturday night in Berkeley, and a Sunday afternoon in Queensland, to look into the seventh ground. And as I've said for the couple of years that we've been looking into this, I made a personal goal at one point that I would someday investigate and look into the seventh ground of the Avatamsaka Sutra, and the fact that we made it, that we're here together exploring this wisdom, for me is personally a thrill. So here we are, and we're going to read. We have a brand new printout here with the Chinese and English together matched, courtesy of our Dharma friends. And I also want to right away acknowledge the hard work of the tech staff that meets a lot of challenges, and the fact that we have multiple groups using our equipment through the week, and when it finally lands back in our hands on Saturday, it's that we can make it all work is quite wonderful. And I might mention, all of the tools that we're using are over the counter. I won't say public domain. For example, the word processor that I'm using. By the way, I can hear the conversations there in the computer pit. So maybe you want to turn that mic off if you can do that. So there you go. Awesome. Anyway, so everything that we're doing is cobbled together with publicly available software. We've got no proprietary special stuff, no contractors. We're all volunteers here, and working with tools that anybody can use, which is, I think, quite wonderful. So, okay, here we are, seventh ground, Bodhisattva, talking about samadhis and how he can teach better when he enters samadhi. Right here is our text. You want to join me and read along? Let's do it together, because the back and forth is tricky when we have a distance around the planet. So let's just do it. You read your speed, I'll read my speed. Here we go. Ready? 是菩萨得此三昧，善智境，方便慧 大悲力故，超过二圣力，得观察智慧地. Okay, and English, can we read it together? You want to try it unison? When the bodhisattva attains those samadhis, because he is good at mastering wisdom's expedient skills, and because of the strength of his great compassion, he goes beyond the levels of the two vehicles and attains the stage of contemplative wisdom. Good stuff. Thank you. 4 palms together. Now, what are we talking about here? We're more than halfway through the 7th ground, and we're talking about a kind of learning. Bodhisattva's learned this stuff. He has put himself through the training that a bodhisattva on the 7th ground puts himself through. He's able to come up with the right answers when tested. And if you're on the 6th ground of a bodhisattva, you don't know this stuff. If you're on the 8th ground, you've already digested it. So there's a pathway, exactly like what? Exactly like school. So before you learned algebra, when do you learn algebra and geometry? Is that 5th grade? 6th grade? Algebra, geometry? 6th grade, yeah, 6th grade, maybe 7th grade. So if you are a 3rd grader, you are getting good at multiplication and division, right? You've already learned addition and subtraction. But ask a 3rd grader about Euclidean geometry, and he hasn't had it. He doesn't know yet. So he can't, square pi. He can't find the square root of pi. He can't, what do you do to a triangle? He can't get the area of a triangle. He doesn't know those formulas. But once he gets to that level, he can do those things. What he can't do calculus. Calculus comes with high school. So 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, you learn calculus. And then that's pretty much as far as you go with mathematics, unless you're going into physics or chemistry and you learn specialized math. The bodhisattva is the same way. Here on the 7th ground, the bodhisattva knows things that he is appropriate, knows things that are good for him to learn here, and that he will need because he's moving forward. And he's not home yet. What is home? 10th ground, 10th stage bodhisattva, and beyond. There's more training ahead for this bodhisattva. So, okay, got it? When the bodhisattva attains these samadhis, we talked about them last week, there were 10, because he's good at something, mastering wisdom's expedient skills. Break that down. Wisdom's expedient skills are what lets the bodhisattva teach. He looks at a strange person, someone he hasn't met yet, and by using wisdom, he knows with a look exactly what language that person speaks, exactly how patient they are, how much they can put up with stress. He knows their sense of humor. He knows their imagination. He knows their ability to be patient with difficulty. And then he knows how to teach. Right? He knows exactly what to say. Give you an example. Today I was teaching the meditation class here at the Gold Coast Dharma Realm. We had 20, as they say in Malaysia, 20 over people. We had 20 over participants. Fairly small house because of the heat, right? And we were talking about, someone mentioned that they were experiencing stress because of political uncertainty. I won't mention the cause of that political uncertainty. And so I said, well, what do you do in that circumstance? And by the way, I'm getting a report that YouTube has no sound. Is anybody watching that one? Is that the case? Can anybody check to see if... Okay, there it is right there.
Yunlin and Locke are working on that.
Okay, got it. All right. I will respond to the person. Okay, there we go. The official word is we're working on it. Okay, so here I was. The person was explaining what to do when they feel really anxiety. You know, what happens to your meditation when you're feeling anxiety? And so I said, well, one thing that I find helpful is I bring the face of the person, the political leader who shall remain nameless, who has orange hair and orange skin, and never mind that. And I wish him well. I send all of my prayers to him and say, you, human being, could expand the measure of your heart. You could find yourself free of fear so that people who you see look not so much like someone to beat or someone who could beat you, but they look like an individual who shares things with you, wishes for well-being, shares things like care for family, and is someone who I can actually help. And when I do that, my heart expands. So I think thoughts like that towards that person. So when I said that, the face of the person in the room this morning, when I was explaining that, just opened. And he laughed. I said, oh, so in other words, it's kind of like you think the opposite of what is causing fear. You don't want to cause fear back. You want to heal it. I said, yes, exactly. Is that wisdom's expedient skills? Who's to say? But it certainly hit the spot for the person who was asking the question. It was nice because I got feedback immediately. He said, oh, that's totally not what I was thinking you were going to say. I see. And so by applying an antidote to the cause of the anxiety, you take away the cause of the fear. That's very interesting. So the bodhisattva is good at mastering wisdom's expedient skills. And because of the strength of his great compassion, because he truly sees himself as one body, same body, not different. He doesn't end at his skin, right? One body with others. So he goes beyond the level of the two vehicles. Stop. Level of the two vehicles. The level word is actually di in the Chinese. It's right here. In Chinese it's 二生地, 超过二生地. Okay, what are two vehicles? Perfect opportunity for us to look at this. Okay, let's look here. Two vehicles. Again, two vehicles. The level of the two vehicles. What would this be? A bicycle and a skateboard, right? No. Try again. Two vehicles refers to something in Buddhism that needs unpacking. Great. There is the Buddha vehicle, the bodhisattva vehicle, the solitary, again, solitary pratyeka Buddha vehicle, and the voice hearer, Shravaka vehicle. Okay, notice the word vehicle appears in all four. What's a vehicle? We could say car, right? We could say car, conveyance. Conveyance. There, funny. NCE, there we go. You could say your ride, the Buddha ride. That would be the same, right? So something that carries you, something that you travel in. That's this word in Chinese, sheng. Also called cheng. Here it is. Here's our word. Yana. Is that Jin Chuanshi? Is that yana? Or is it, what's the Sanskrit for sheng?
Actually, the Sanskrit for those two is Shravaka Prachika Buddha.
Is that right?
The Sanskrit actually has both Shravaka and Prachika Buddha there.
So what would, when you add sheng to the end, what is it in Sanskrit?
Okay, let me go check. 1 second.
Isn't that wonderful? We can do research right on the spot. That's a benefit of technology for sure.
I help Locke over there. It says Shravaka Prachika Buddha Bhumi. The Bhumi of the Shravaka and Prachika Buddha.
Bhumi. Bhumi is D.
Yeah, D. So I see that happening quite a bit in the Sanskrit and then translated to Chinese. I think they try to shorten it. So rather than always saying Sen Wen Bi Zi Fo, they just say 二乘. So it's a shorthand. It seems to be a shorthand for when the word Shravaka Prachika Buddha comes up in Sanskrit.
Okay. I want to make a comment. Your voice on that mic is uncommonly gritty, sandy. It's not a clear sound. How are we doing with our audio? Is our audio back on YouTube?
Yunlin and Locke are working hard over there.
Okay.
It's gritty sound, I think, is what he says.
Yeah, your voice is gritty. I'm not sure what that is. So anyhow, we probably need to take charge of our own sound system so that after we get it right 1 week, we come back the next week and it's still right. Something happens, to the multiple users, and when we get to our main meal of the week, which is the Saturday night sutra lecture, it doesn't taste very good and people can't hear. So I know how it goes. I know what that's about. So anyhow, let's get back to our talk here. What do we have? Why does the Bodhisattva on the 7th ground, with the strength of great compassion, go beyond the levels of 2 vehicles? Hey, what are 2 vehicles? Here's the idea. 2 vehicles is spoken from the point of the Bodhisattva's point of view. Spoken from the point of the Bodhisattva. Now, the Avatamsaka Sutra, it looks so hot, it's because it's 106 degrees here. The Avatamsaka Sutra is the #1 text that talks about bodhisattvas in all of the world. The Huayan Jing talks about bodhisattvas most and most clearly. From the point of view of the Avatamsaka Sutra, a bodhisattva is a da xin zhe, somebody who's got a great resolve. He's a da xin zhongsheng, a living being who's got a scope of mind that can't be compared to anybody else. Just everything fits inside. And nobody is eliminated. Nobody is excluded from the bodhisattva's heart. So no matter what party they voted, no matter what food they eat, what gods they pray to, the bodhisattva has room for them. You're okay. We're the same. There's no difference, says the bodhisattva. We're all suffering until we get to Buddhahood. Once we get to Buddhahood, then you too realize that we're the same. That's the bodhisattva's point of view. And because of that vision of everybody being in the same boat, the bodhisattva is willing to put himself or herself last. You all take my ticket and go through and get to safety. I'll wait here where it's dangerous until everybody else crosses over, and then I'll come after you. That's the bodhisattva's heart. So from the point of view of the Avatamsaka, that's the best. That's the summum bonum, right? 最上,最高, that heart is hard to beat. It's altruistic to the extreme. Okay? Anything less than that seems, to the Avatamsaka Sutra's point of view, to be inferior. Doesn't match. 不能比. Right? It's a lesser result. Now, two vehicles are these two levels of who? Buddhist sages. These are beings who have already put an end to birth and death. They have done what the Buddha did already. The Shravaka, sound hearer, voice hearer, has ended birth and death, right? 生死都了了, you know, and has accomplished, they've put an end to desire. They've had their last birthday, although the sound hearer has 7 in one explanation of it. It's got 7 more to go. In one explanation, they have 1 more to go, depending on the level of their samadhi, their samme. So these are people who are, compared to ordinary living beings like us, are massively accomplished. If a voice hearer walked in the room, you would be on the ground bowing, you know, immediately, because this person would be radiant. They'd be pure. They'd be shining. They'd be strong. Their character, their virtue, their qi, their state would be so powerful, so pure, you know, so admirable. And yet, from the point of view of the bodhisattva, he would say, still selfish. Their resolve has a limit. Their capacity has a volume, and beyond which they don't go, right? What is it about the solitary Buddha, also called one awakened by conditions, and the voice hearer, the Shravaka? Why are they two vehicles, and why do they come in for criticism? It's because from the point of view of the bodhisattva, there's still more room in their heart to develop before they reach the bodhisattva's ground, much less the Buddha. All right? That makes sense? So if we have, take a look here, 10 Dharma realms. There are 10 Dharma realms, 6 still flowing, let's see here, try again. Flowing through birth and death, 4 already beyond further suffering, right? 6 of the 10 Dharma realms are still suffering a lot. Still die, they leave everybody behind who they loved, they go beyond and we don't know where they're going, they come back. Those are hell beings, ghosts, animals, Asuras, humans, and gods. Devas are still there. Okay, that's ordinary life in the Saha world, that's samsara. But there are 4 Dharma realms where sufferings come to an end. People who, because of their cultivation, were able to go beyond what ordinary folks would think was impossible, which is they've ended mortality. They have become beyond birth and death. Who are they? Here they are, got them listed. 1, Buddha vehicle. 2, the Dharma realm of Buddhas. 2, the Dharma realm of Bodhisattvas. 3, the Dharma realm of solitary Buddhas, Pratyeka Buddhas. 4, the Dharma realm of voice hearers. These are the 4 sages. 四圣地, they're called. Beyond further suffering. Okay, but among those 4, from the point of view of the 7-stage Bodhisattva, there's definitely a difference. The Buddha, well, he's beyond discussion. The Buddha has completely ended any kind of birth and death. The Bodhisattva is somewhere on the path, but the solitary Pratyeka Buddha, also known as one awakened by conditions, and the sound hearer want to leave. They want to go out and not come back. They're done. The bodhisattva says, I'll come back. In fact, I'll go last. You guys go first. All right? So that's where the two vehicles, that's what the two vehicles are about. And I went through this whole, two vehicles. I went through this whole dramatic explanation because I want to inject some comparative reality in here. Because in the Chinese Mahayana tradition, where the Avatamsaka Sutra, the Lotus Sutra, and other sutras are celebrated, people get the habit of looking down their nose at two vehicles. They go, sheng, like that, looking down at them. And they say, xiao cheng, small vehicle, right? Xiao cheng, like that. And it's just it's a custom. It's kind of a habit of borrowing from the sutras, which are spoken from the point of view of the bodhisattva. What it's talking about is an attitude of mind, not a person. And that's a big difference. Okay? If I am cultivating along in my meditation and the pain in my knees just gets so nasty that I take my legs down, if the pain in my head from my false thoughts gets so oppressive that I either put my head down and go to sleep or stand up and go drink a cold drink, forget about meditation, immediately I have fallen below the level of a xiaocheng, right, a small vehicle. As soon as I say, no, I'm not done with meditation, I really need to look into my mind. It's only my mind that's struggling with me. So I'm going to sit still, be patient. The time is not done yet. We're still meditating. I'll give you a cookie and a cold drink afterwards, but let's just sit here. Right? Because you need to be crossed over. You talk to yourself like that, and guess what? You sit through the meditation without moving. Immediately, you've gone beyond the xiaocheng, the small vehicle. It's an attitude. It's not a person. So the problem comes here. I have been with Chinese tradition monks, mostly monks, not nuns, but monks, who get it wrong and think that monks in the Theravada tradition, Thailand, Sri Lanka, Burma, Cambodia, Laos, parts of Vietnam, Malaysia, and now in Europe and the West, that if you're wearing a Theravada robe, you are a small vehicle cultivator. That's a mistake. And it's misunderstanding, and we should stop that. That needs to be changed. Because why? I have met very noble Thai forest tradition cultivators whose resolve is vast and who actually do the purification, they do the rigorous precept holding, they do not allow greed into their lives. They have one set of robes, one set of bowls. All their possessions can fit in a bowl and a backpack, and they cultivate purely, you know. And if I look at them and say, xiaocheng, you know, you're really small vehicle. Often if they're 6'2", I'm in a position where I'm pointing up, you're a small vehicle, did you know that? And they go, oh, let's see, and that makes you large vehicle, you know? And it's kind of embarrassing to realize that was a stereotyping, and it's a really good one to lose fast. What Master Hua said, he said, that is the southern tradition. Those are practitioners of the southern tradition, Nanchuan, and the Mahayana practitioners of the northern tradition, Beichuan, and both of them make mistakes by running too far in their own direction. It's time for both north and south to turn around and come back and meet in the middle and get on with doing the Buddha's work. Okay, said Sherpa. We're going, okay, Sherpa. Okay. Now, certainly, from the point of view of the southern tradition, especially in Sri Lanka, I know particularly, but also in Thailand, there are old fuddy-duddy monks who are the exact equivalent of the Mahayana monks who snort down their noses at small vehicle. These old-timers look at Mahayana monks and go, they're all bankers. They're all rich. Money's flowing over their hands. They eat past noon. They eat 3, 4, 5 meals a day. They own BMWs. Yeah. Tell me what's proper about that. Is that what the Buddha taught? I don't believe it. Right? So that's equally a stereotype and a prejudice against a vehicle, right? The northern tradition. So Mahayana, they say Mahayana makes up the Buddha Dharma left and right. They got millions of Buddhas. They have ultimate sutras. The Buddha never spoke. So that's wrong too. So the mistake is to miss what this is aiming at. This is aiming at an attitude, a point of view. If my thoughts quit on living beings, if I decide to stop cultivating because it's just too difficult to change anybody's thoughts, then I don't match up to the two vehicles. But as long as I understand that everybody is suffering and we all want to wake up and go beyond suffering, that single thought puts me back on the bodhisattva path. And I transcend that stereotype of the Mahayana being nothing but a bunch of bankers who, eat all day long and collect money as a hobby. So there we go. So, okay, that's all to explain what this line of text that says, what does it say? Because of the strength of his great compassion, he goes beyond the levels of the two vehicles. He goes beyond the bhumi, the ground of the two vehicles. So he reaches the bodhisattva path. He attains the stage of contemplative wisdom. Oh boy, guan cha zhi hui. This is going to be our next major topic. Guan cha zhi hui di. The bhumi, the level, the stage of contemplative wisdom. What would that be? Let's find out. Honestly, I would rather show you than tell you. Okay? How are we doing so far? Let's check in. I've been going on about two vehicles, and northern and southern tradition. Making sense? How are we doing? Hi, Halma.
Sounds good. I don't know if anybody has any comments. Okay, so Lark says that we're letting people into the go-to meeting for better audio.
Okay, how is YouTube doing?
He says the audio is okay, but it's just not as good.
Okay, well, sometime maybe the wires are just too hot in Queensland. It's just too hot for anything.
We hear you very clearly in the Buddha Hall here.
Okay, well, there's 48. We've learned that there are more people online than we have, than we have in person. So it feels like it's 42 outside. Hubba, 106. All right. Well, we'll just try our best. And maybe I have a suggestion. Let's do our prep next week and make sure we get all our problems solved before showtime so that folks can watch. Okay, now we've got, I would like to ask, let's see, is that Alice in the front? I'm going to put Alice on the spot again. Oh, it's just you sit in front, it's your easy pickings there. Next week, Alice is going to sit behind Connie and behind Goha. So maybe the answer is, I don't know. But what I'm going to ask is, have you heard anybody in the Chinese tradition say 小乘 or small vehicle and look down on Theravada monks? Or have you, my question is, if I didn't explain the sutra this way, would this make sense? Why does the Bodhisattva go beyond the two vehicles stage? Alice, did you ever hear anybody talk about two vehicles?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because the name big and small already make a discriminate the two, I mean, two what? Yeah,
Vehicles,
different.
right?
Vehicle different, yeah. And then we think the small vehicle is always a thing for themselves. Yeah, but also, so it's always, it's till I come to the Berkeley temple and I see the Theravada monk here. So I realized they really cultivate very well. So then I changed my ideas too. Yeah. So that helped.
Great. Yeah, thanks. So when you see a picture of Master Hua standing with Ajahn Sumedho side by side, let's see. Wonder if I could bring that up just on the spot. AJ, let's see, Ajahn Sumedho. Let's see what comes up here. There's a famous photograph of Shifu standing next to Sumedho. It's better, much more effective to show than tell. So documents, events, reminders, suggestion, web videos, PDF documents. Let's try better than that. Anyway, let me keep talking. It's because one of our master's vows has to do with interfaith. One of his, not his vows, his legacies, has to do with interfaith. Wanting to bring religions together, so our, to stop fighting among ourselves. So to talk about Buddhism and other religions when right within the body of Buddhism ourselves we haven't healed this split makes no sense. It's really sad, to point to others and say, why are you guys fighting when Buddhism just can't get along? And I'm not going to waste time here trying to find, I should have prepared it. So there's a wonderful photo of Master Hua standing here and Ajahn Sumedho standing side by side. And Shifu has said that they were fellow cultivators in past lives. They were Tong Can Daoyou, friends along the path. So that's quite wonderful. And in fact, you wonder, where did these stereotypes arise? Why would the Avatamsaka Sutra point out that the Bodhisattva at this point has gone beyond the realm of the two vehicle cultivators? Here, I think, is the answer. It's because coming up in the next several lectures, in the next turn of our text, the Bodhisattva is going to have a big decision to make. And based on the decision the Bodhisattva makes, he or she will either progress to the 8th, 9th, and 10th ground, or they will stop. And it has to do with vows. It has to do with your own vows. And this is it's a preparation for the challenge that's coming. Okay, good. All right. Now, let's move to our text. Here's the next chunk right here. Here's the Chinese. Let me read it. Those of you who can see it on the screen, or if you have a copy in your hands, we'll read along. Here we go. 佛子菩萨住此地，善尽无量深业 无相横，善尽无量语业无相横，善尽无量意业无相横故，得无生法忍光明。There we go. Disciples of the Buddha, while the bodhisattva stays upon this ground, he skillfully masters limitless, unconditioned practices, body karma. Skillfully masters limitless, unconditioned practices of speech karma. Skillfully masters limitless, unconditioned practices of mind karma. Then he attains the light of patience when dharmas no longer arise. Okay, next chunk. I'm going to copy that, and you picked out, I'm sure, the pattern. There were three patterns. There was one pattern that repeated 3 times. Okay, paste that in there. And I really want to undo each of these ideas so that people get a sense of what's going on here. Want to make it ours, so it's not at arm's length and far away. Disciples of the Buddha. While the bodhisattva stays on this ground, 7th ground, he, shan, jing, is the verb. Skillfully, shan, he's good at. Jing. Now, jing here is a funny one because jing means to purify, to make pure. But I think here it's good as immaculate. But we need it to as a verb. He jings, right? He immaculates. There's no such word. So what does he do? He masters. He does to the ultimate point. Wu liang, limitless, no limit. Wu xiang, heng. Now this is the xiang of, Cliff and I was having a conversation about this the other day. It's the xiang of lakshana in Sanskrit, nimitta, things that the senses can know. Your eyes can see it, your ears can hear it, your tongue knows, taste and smell it, your body can feel it, your mind can name it, discuss it, categorize it, things like that. That is you xiang. If it's got conditions, then you can know it. And that phrase, wu xiang, unconditioned, modifies practices. Oh boy, that makes your head go boom, right? So he skillfully masters limitless, meaning a lot, that's quantity. Unconditioned, meaning you can't think about them, practices. What kind of practices are hard to think about? Well, I know one. Think about transference of merit, Wei Xiang. I'm here encouraging people, describing how to Wei Xiang, right? A reliving being, like that. We do our transference. What's going on? You can't see it. You kind of can get an idea, and we use images like cell phone tower, right? Your mobile phone gets its signal from 360 degrees of a tower, from a tower, just like it used to be a TV tower. We live just down from the police station on McKinley Avenue in Berkeley, and if you walk by the police station, they have these multiple radio towers going on. Because why? They have to receive all the broadcasts, send out all their dispatches, and it goes out over those structures, those metal structures, right? Those are towers. And think about your mind as that tower sending out transference. Is that what's going on? I don't know, honestly. I don't know. It's unconditioned because you have to take it on faith. It's invisible, but I can see the results, and I feel the results when I transfer. I feel the connection. So is that conditioned or unconditioned? Well, you know, this bodhisattva is good at qing, making immaculate, no flaws, limitless, unconditioned practices of body, speech, and mind karma. There's that pattern, right? True for body karma, true for speech karma, true for mind karma. And when he does that, he obtains the big moment. What is it? Wusheng Faren Guangming. He obtains the light of, and here's the phrase, patience when dharmas no longer arise. What is that? Oh man. Let's get the Chinese. This is so good. This is the key to what's coming up. Here it is in Chinese. 无生法忍, they say. Get a nice pretty Chinese font. How about Yao Kai? Good, there's a nice pretty font. Okay. It's Guangming, it's light, and it's patience light. That's what the Bodhisattva gets here. He gets light, Guangming, radiance, so he's shining, and it's a patience light, which is like, what in the world, right? Nobody's ever heard of a patience light. We think about night lights, we think about tail lights, we think about overhead lights, fluorescent lights, headlights, but patience lights? Nope. Okay, what's that? Patience is further defined by 3 words, Wu Sheng Fa. All right, I have to go a step back to make sense of this. It's said, and we'll hear Master Hua, we'll hear Shifu talk about this periodically. He'll say, 有三种人. He'll say, there is 3 kinds of patiences. Patience. Patience. There is patience with birth or coming into being. There is patience with dharmas, that's lowercase d. And then there is patience when dharmas are no longer arising. And you go, Shifu, I don't get it. That makes no sense whatsoever. Shifu, what are you talking about? And you say, okay, well, I'll be patient. I'll just be patient while I understand. So let's look at the last one, which is the one we just heard about. It's said that the Bodhisattva, in his samadhi, in his cultivation, has become more and more refined. The big moment for samadhi was the 5th ground, which is what? That's the dhyana paramita phase, right? Number 5 out of 6. We have giving, virtue, patience, vigor, dhyana, meditation, and then prajna, right? So in the 5th ground, 2 grounds, 2 stages back, the Bodhisattva was really good at meditation. Samadhi started to happen, and as soon as he had that samadhi, what did he do? He could master all kinds of worldly things. He could go out and play guitar and his mind wouldn't move, right? He could go out and learn to cook and he wouldn't, lust over the flavors because he had samadhi, she had samadhi. Because of that samadhi, the focus, the concentration allowed wisdom to arise. Step 6, what's the wisdom? Ooh, the 12 links. Pratitya samutpada, creation started to happen. Bodhisattva sees emptiness at the heart of creation. And he has to be patient with that. So what is going on? And I'm trying to explain this in a way that we could actually imagine it happening to us. Right? In the Bodhisattva's meditation, things that used to be really solid now are seen as fluid. Things that used to be very ordinary common sense now seem arbitrary, up for grabs. Like sometimes it's that way, sometimes it's not. So what does he have to do? He has to be patient. He has to let these changes take place because he has a much more powerful microscope that he is looking at the world in, looking at the world through now. the bodhisattva's reality has changed all over the place because stuff is breaking up. Purely because of his meditation and his wisdom. So this process happened through the sixth ground with all those 12 links, beginning and ending, you know. And the bodhisattva realized that things that he thought were completely reliable are just a way of looking. It's a way of seeing. And emptiness is the only truth. And then at the seventh ground, he realized emptiness is not ultimate. Oh no. So he's got to be especially patient. And all of the seventh ground is about expedient wisdom, meaning you know how to teach. And in the process of teaching, you can change yourself according to conditions as needed, because why? You're good at it. You have made immaculate all these different samadhis. You see, this living being needs to be taught by somebody who's very strong, so you manifest as a big, strong person to support him. This person needs to be taught by somebody very quick and clever, so you manifest as an intellectual, someone who, a poet, to please them, not the big, strong rock that you were. And the bodhisattva can do all this, just boom, 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 no problem. And as his or her samadhi deepens and becomes more subtle, the reality that used to be so reliable is continuing to go wonky around them. What happens here is emptiness that he emptied out in the sixth ground went empty. Then the emptiness that resulted kept manifesting as emptiness, and he emptied that out, and now dharmas that were empty no longer come into being, and they don't go away either. This is patience when dharmas no longer arise. Wusheng faren. And it's very hard to bear to see that something you thought was reliable is simply a way of looking yet again. Okay? Now, people who study the Madhyamaka, people who study with Nagarjuna, Bodhisattva, and Yogacara, these ideas, their radar should be going right here, because this is really the beating heart of the Mahayana. The two vehicles, in the meditation of a Shravaka and a Pratyeka Buddha, they can empty out the self. They see through the self. The self and its desires are gone. Okay? Certain bodhisattvas can empty out dharmas. Okay? So not only is the self empty, but the empty space around the self can be seen as empty. But only when you get to the seventh stage do you empty out emptiness. You take that next step into space. And this is the crossroads. Shifu would say in the Chan school, as the saying, that you climb to the very top of a 100-foot pole and you take one more step off the top. You think, well, there's nowhere to go. You're on top of the pole. One more step. You empty out emptiness. And it's your new reality. And everybody else would say, that's crazy. And the Bodhisattva goes, no, it's cultivation. It's transforming consciousness into wisdom. Not easy, huh? So those cultivators who say, I'm done here, I can't teach living beings, there's a lot to be said for that kind of solid, clinging to what you know to be true. The Bodhisattva has to let the Dharma carry him into transformation. And when you do that, what happens? You get to a place called irreversibility. No further retreat. 不退转地, Avatamsaka it's called. And this is said to be, after the Bodhi resolve, this is the second most important moment in a cultivator's career. This is hugely important in the creation of a Buddha, to get to the place of irreversibility. So before this, from ground one, ground of happiness, all the way, you even say from the first faith, way back down when the Bodhisattva begins, all the way to the end of the seventh ground, Bodhisattvas can make progress and then retreat, progress and retreat, go forward, go back, go forward, go back. At this point, they never go back. From here on to Buddhahood, it's guaranteed that they will reach Buddhahood without any further delay. Okay, so that's a big deal. This is an important point, and that's why I'm trying to illustrate this Wushang Faren in a way that people will remember. So, okay, where's our viewer? There's our viewer. Okay, what do y'all think about this? How am I doing? Is this making sense? If I had a bugle, I would blow the bugle and beat the drum at this point and say, we're right at the Bodhisattvas, right before the gate to irreversibility. Jin Chuan, what do you think? Is this corresponding to your Sanskrit studies? Or Yogacara? Where you empty out emptiness?
Yeah, there's definitely that stage of emptying out emptiness. That's kind of we're actually studying the Vajra Sutra right now in the Buddhist Hermeneutics 3 class. It's exactly on that point, which is, we're actually reading a really interesting commentary by Great Master Han San. Sorry, my pronunciation. Han Shan, Tasher. And he actually describes, that sutra begins with Venerable Subhuti seeing that the arhats are new bodhisattvas, a bit worried and agitated because they're leaving their place of abiding in a kind of a comfort of nirvana, and they're not sure where they're going to go. And there's a little bit of anxiety there. And they say, wow, there's a lot of living beings. And I'm supposed to save all of them? and so then he asks a question to the Buddha, which is, well, where are we supposed to dwell, and how do we subdue our minds? Because now he's looking out after having gone through emptiness, now going, wow, I still have to save living beings. Now where do I dwell? Where do I subdue? How do I subdue my mind? So that's the Vajra Sutra. So I think it's very much in that spirit of emptying emptiness.
There you go. Yeah. So it's the thing that I keep wanting to I guess emphasize here is that this is a psychological challenge. This is really hard to do, and maybe that's why there aren't more Buddhas or 8th-stage bodhisattvas, is because you've got to be firm in your compassion. What is it asking for? It's asking for more kindness. So it's not so difficult. It's not impossible. It's not that it requires more like muscles. You don't have to be smarter. You have to be gooder, more good to get here. You have to be really, really kind. And we'll see in the next step what the Buddhas do in order to get the Bodhisattva across the threshold is they say, don't forget your vows. Remember your vows. Okay, one more thing to point out here as we look. This patience when dharmas no longer arise is a translation that Marty Verhoeven and I worked on a lot. Patience when dharmas no longer arise. We've had all kinds of choices. The unproduced dharma patience was one version, which it's like unproduced dharma patience. It's like, that's not English. What are some of the other ones? Wu Sheng Fa Ren, unproduced Dharma patience. There's a whole variety of translations here. Suzanne just wrote that she's translating Wu Sheng Fa Ren, strength. So we stretched it out. We gave it a longer name. Patience when dharmas no longer arise. It's got a nice meter to it. And we're going to have the Avatamsaka explain it up ahead. And it does it very beautifully. It says the bodhisattva, the reality for the bodhisattva at this point is he sees that all dharmas are not born and they don't die. You go, wait, you mean they're static? No, that's not it either. They're empty. So, like, America has always had, like, problems with handgun deaths. That dharma is neither produced nor does it destroy. But wait, America has always, been obsessed with our vehicles, our cars. We have to pave the wilderness and drive our cars over it to burn fuels. That's it. It's just never not been. And you go, wait, no. And everything is like that. You go, it's just always there, but it doesn't exist. That's a contradiction. And right then, the Vajra Sutra kicks in, because the Vajra Sutra, anybody who's read the Dharma Sutra, knows about the contradictions. The Bodhisattva vows to take absolutely every living being across, and not a single living being has ever crossed over. You go, that's nonsense. That makes no sense. Right. The conscious mind cannot contain paradoxical contradictions, but wisdom makes perfect sense, because that's the state. It's both and it's neither or. The four-legged tetralemma, the logical debate that has four legs, where it's both and it's neither, and it's both and neither, and it's neither both nor neither. You go, yo boy, gives me a headache, right? A lot of people just turn off at that point, but Bodhisattva says, yep, that's what the conscious mind can imagine, can conceive of. When you go beyond that, you're starting to get close to the Bodhisattva's realm. Whoa. Okay, great. We have looked at just 2 paragraphs here, these 2, but we got to the key here. The Bodhisattva at this stage obtains the light of patience when dharmas no longer arise. He is able to make sense of his new meditation state. So we have a conversation here. Muna Liberation, Bodhisattva, says, one more paragraph here, 解脱曰菩萨言，佛子菩萨从初地来，所有无量生于一夜，岂不超过而胜耶? Muna Liberation asked, disciple of the Buddha, doesn't the Bodhisattva, starting from the first ground, surpass the levels of the 2 vehicles in his limitless deeds of body, speech, and mind? Okay, so he's setting up that question, and that's very straightforward. We'll get to that. We'll get to that next week, and there are some examples here of how the Bodhisattva behaves, and we're moving forward. This text is powerful. Once we understand the 7th ground, we see how it informs the Bodhisattva's behavior through all the different parts of the Mahayana tradition. So much of what we call the Bodhisattva path and Kong Man, the gateway of emptiness, and Buddhism as a whole in China was formed from this part of the Avatamsaka Sutra, because it's a big step. Once you get through this gate, you never have to come back, except by your vows. And then you come back in multiple ways at once. So truly, 不可思议, right? Okay, I want to invite us to transfer merit right now, and then I'm going to pick up on something I want to share. So let me, there's the Chinese, the 7th ground, and Here's our dedication of merit. Right there. Okay, let's do something inconceivable. A limitless, unconditioned Dharma called dedication of merit. It's not so mysterious, right? Nurses worldwide know about the power of prayer. So do priests worldwide, nuns worldwide know about the power of prayer. That when you pray for sick people, they get better faster than people who don't get prayed for. Oh my, I can hear the challenges around the world. Let me ask you, if you were in that hospital bed and you had a choice of being prayed for or not, would you take it? I don't need that stuff. Yeah. It's unconditioned Dharma. We can't see it, we can't taste it, we know it works. Here we go. Let's put our hearts where we want our merit to go. Here we go. May every living being, our hearts as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see, our hands and hearts can find in giving unity. May our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Okay, thank you everybody for joining in. Before you go, I would like to invite you to look with me at a document. And I was reflecting on the treasury, the storehouse that we have in the Mahayana of great religious spiritual literature. We have documents from the earliest Therigatha and Therigatha. The songs, it's so hot here. It's hard to describe how hot it is here. The songs of the earliest monks and nuns back in the Buddhist time. And up to things like the Song of Enlightenment. We have all of the six patriarchs' verses and songs that he writes on the spot, just the way Shifu did. We have Master Hua's incredible quantities of verses and poetry, etc., etc. And every generation, monks and nuns have been turning out these incredibly evocative, inspiring letters, you know, both in songs and verses and poems and essays, etc. So they're largely unknown unless you read and speak Chinese. So that's the first step, is recognizing what we have. But the next step is certainly in understanding what it is. And then the next step is communicating through translation what you got. And Shifu took us to steps 1 and 2. He pointed out these important documents, and then he explained them for us. That's step 1 and step 2. But it's up to us to translate into forms that Westerners recognize and can tap their foot to. So here's my take on the Song of Enlightenment. And I know that Master Jinyong has our Dharma brother at CTDB, who's in Taiwan currently, has begun a new workshop on translating the Song of Enlightenment. And I'm delighted that he's doing that. I put my thoughts together about this text, and let me talk about that. This is a provisional translation of a song. It's called a ge, right? It starts out as a song. And I think Master Yongjia wanted us to sing it. I think it meant to be sung. Master Xuanhua Shifu sang it every day. He said, any day that you can chant, 那个永道歌 is a day that you won't have affliction. So what do songs need? They need a melody. They need voices to sing it. The language of Zhengdao Ge is very different from classical poetry or, ci, sonnets, totally different. It's fresh, it's direct, it's gritty. It's kind of abrasive and in your face. It's not polite. There's an attitude in the Zhengdao Ge of no compromise with the truth. Yongjia Dashi was known as Yi Xi Jue, right, or Yi Wan Jue, overnight enlightened. Yongjia is a place name. His name was Xuan Jue, mysterious enlightened. Yongjia Dashi. He wants us to wake up. He's not going to be patient if you're wasting your time, if you're foolish, fooling around. No matter whether you're a monk or a layperson, he's in your face telling you, wake up. I want that tone, lively and contemporary, to communicate in the song as we sing it. Now, songs need a melody. Where do the melody comes from? My guess is Yongjia Dashi, Master Xuanjue, probably went out in the street and heard kids jumping rope, ta-tum, ta-tum, with a jump rope. He probably heard kids playing hopscotch, 1, 2, 3. He took melodies that were there. He probably took melodies that scholars used to intone yin shi when they used, da-dee-da-dee-dee-da-da. Old traditional tunes that you used, and put his meter to that. Now, I have not tried to rhyme. Rhyming at the end may or may not happen. That's not as important as metering. Metering is like a heartbeat. Bump, 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 bump. That's meter. And it needs to meter if it's going to correspond to anything we want to sing. My guess is if we were to hear the song, Zhengdao Ge, being sung in real life, it would be out in the wilderness on a trail as somebody walks by. It would be in the marketplace as somebody came by with strawberries. It would be on the train station or the airport. Not in the parlor, not in the classroom, not in the variety show. It's not polite. These verses point straight to the awakened nature. American folk culture is rich in musical verse settings for works like this. I think these verses are an embodiment of what happens when somebody wakes up to the Tao, Zheng Dao, and we let the song do its work of communicating the mind that realizes the way. Okay, so that's my take on this. And is it a precise translation? Yeah, arguably, but it certainly gives you a flavor. Let me tell you about the person of the way. He's got little left to learn. He's got nothing left to say. He doesn't chase his wisdom thoughts. He doesn't seek what's true. To find his Buddha nature, he just lets ignorance do. Wake up the Dharma body, there's nothing there at all. Natural, the primal source, the Buddha in the hall. The shadows 5 are empty clouds, floating as they go. The poisons 3 are fragile bubbles, drifting on the flow. Okay, how does it go? It goes, 君不见，觉晓无为先道人。不求妄想，不求真，不明实性，即佛性。幻化空生即法身，法身较了无一物，本源自性，天真佛。浮云浮云空去来，三路水泡须去没。Okay, that's what I heard Shifu do. That's how Shifu sang the Zhangdao Ge, and it's really free, and it's really alive, right? So, verse number 2 says, when your wisdom's real, people and dharmas both are gone. Right? What is it? What were we just talking about? The bodhisattva who can empty the two vehicles, empty ren, kong, and fa, kong, but they cannot kong, kong. So when your wisdom's real, people and dharmas, both are gone. In a finger snap, your karma's done, the stuff that drags you down. If my words are senseless noise, if I put you on, then send me to hell where tongues are pulled out. I'll stay there from now on. Okay? It communicates. This really communicates something special. 正实相无人法，刹那灭却而彼呀。若将往于狂众生，自照跋涉尘沙界。Okay? So, he says what? Suddenly you taste the chan of the thus come one. Perfection 6, the myriad gates inside you now are done. While you dreamt, you lived them all, the 6 destinies. But now you're awake. The whole wide world is empty as can be. Okay? 顿照了如来禅，流度万行即中原。梦里明明又流去，觉后空空无大千。So what about an English melody now? So let's look at this one. This one I really like. This works good. Goodbye to good and evil. Goodbye to loss and gain. In stillness and tranquility, you never ask again. Your wisdom mirror was coated thick. You never wiped it clean. Now it shines without a flaw. There's nothing you can't see. Okay, the Chinese goes like this, just so you can hear it. 无贼夫无损益，寂灭心中某问疑。此来曾经未曾摸，今日分明须剖析。So in English, I was looking for a tune, and it came through Jody Stecker, actually, and Alan Sanaki, who were, actually Peter Rowan was there in the room, and they all came up with the blind fiddler. That melody. It's an old Appalachian melody. Clearly it came from England or Scotland or Ireland, somewhere in the Celtic countries, and made its home in the Appalachian Mountains. And it fits perfectly. We don't want it to be too minor. The blind fiddler is really it's a high, lonesome kind of melody, but it fits, and it makes Yongjia Dasher's Song of Enlightenment come alive in the West. It goes like this. Goodbye to good and evil, goodbye to loss and gain. In stillness and tranquility, you never ask again. Your wisdom mirror was coated thick, you never wiped it clean. how it shines without a flaw. There's nothing you can't see. Right? Fits right in with the idiom. So, 水无念，水无声。若是无声，法人无不生。观取机关无人问，求佛施功早完成。Okay? So check this out. Whoever stopped their thinking has also stopped rebirth. Once rebirth dies, then all things come alive. Find a puppet on a string and ask him his advice. Seek Buddhahood. Apply yourself. You'll get there by and by.
You'll get there by and by. Oh, sweet Buddha. Oh, Buddha.
Somebody's playing the blind fiddler. Whoever stopped their thinking has also stopped rebirth. Once rebirth dies, then all things come alive. Hear the lovely paradox in there? Find a puppet on a string and ask him his advice. Seek Buddhahood, apply yourself. You'll get there by and by. Isn't that nice? So that's all for now. But just to say, taking this Tang Dynasty, this is 800s. So it's, well, 1,000, how many? 1,400 years ago? Taking a 1,400-year-old verse by an enlightened master in the Chan school, one of our ancestors, and giving it the voice that it deserves, putting it in the context of the street, where people actually sing and talk about stuff, very expressive language. And we in America, in North America, in Australia, Canada, Europe, have perfect holder for this wisdom. We've got a cultural basket that this fits right in. And I think people need to hear it. Because they're going to go, where's this been? Where's this been? Well, learn Chinese. It's all there. You think this is a tiny spoonful of an ocean of wisdom literature. So, okie doke. Is it still raining in California, Jinchuan?
Nope, today is very sunny, and seems like I don't know when the rain's coming back, but we have probably quite a few days of sunny weather over this week.
Hubba. Way to go. Thank you, Dharma Master, for your blessings in making the sunshine. No, that's misguided faith. That is called mi-xin. That's false faith. Why don't you make some announcements about what's going on in the Berkeley community so everybody...
Yeah, we have a lot of things happening, in fact. Tomorrow at Oakland Museum, there'll be a Lunar New Year celebration. They'll have the boys' school, girls' school, but also our Berkeley Monastery will be going there to make spring rolls, do Chinese calligraphy, and lots of other activities. So if people would like to go, it's from 12 to 4:30. I believe it was when the programs are happening. And if you want to go to help out, set up the booth and various things, I believe the Berkeley group is going to be leaving to get there at 10 o'clock in the morning. So if you want to join in, that's tomorrow. And then the following weekend, we have an Amitabha retreat for 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So if people would like to join, it will start from 8 a.m. on Saturday to on all 3 days and go to about maybe 4:30, 4:45 each of those days. So if you would like to join, we'll have the noon meal for everyone. That'll just be one meal. So people can come first with breakfast and leave and get dinner if they like. We also have the 8 precepts transmission on the first day on Saturday morning, 8 a.m. And you can also find more information on our website, berkeleymonastery.org. You can sign up there or talk with Jing Foshu or Mr. Yap about it. What else? We have March 11th to the 18th, we have the Guanyin session coming up at CDTB, and that's also followed by a kind of a total of 3-week, we call it Living the Practice program, where we'll be studying Master Empty Cloud and Ajahn Mun life stories as kind of, you could say, examples of those who've cultivated the path and kind of see what we can learn from their experiences. So if people are interested in cultivating a CDTB for 3 weeks, you can come and join us for that. You'll find that on the DRBU extension website, which is drbux.org. drbux.org. Okay.
drbux.org.
Yeah. There's like down around Buddhist University with an X at the end.
Yeah, drbux.org.
Is there anything else people have? That's it? Okay, that's it. Yep.
Sounds good. That's it. All right. Well, I wanted to express gratitude to my long-suffering colleagues here, Tracy and Sam and Cliff. There they are, sweating. Tracy has her son asleep in her lap. Boy,
wow,
that's hard to be a mom, you know. Thank goodness moms are good at it. They are shan jing. They're good at purifying motherhood. Okay, Amitofo, see you all next week. Let's meet in advance to get our technical bugs solved, all right? Amitofo. Bye-bye.
Amitofo.